out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Steven Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, that is Steven Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. No, do not adjust your monitor. I am camera not ready today. This is not a bit. Sometimes I will turn the camera off for a bit and do a big reveal of a costume or something that I might have. This is not a bit that I'm doing here. This is because I'm a little under the weather and I do not want the ring lights on in front of me. And so instead of just completely doing the show in the dark, because I don't think that would look good either, I have a light on behind me. I don't really like the lighting there, so I just decided to go no camera, and everyone can see like 18-year-old Jeremy in front of a Chuck Liddell and Vanderlei Silva poster. But I appreciate
I was about to ask what that picture was. That's yeah. So yeah, that's how long ago did you say that was?
Oh, well, I mean, when was that fight? That fight was
Liddell and Silva. I was in college at the time, so that would have had to been sometime between 2006 and 2010, probably closer to 2010, because after Pride got purchased.
It was UFC 79. I know it was UFC 79. It was 2007 is when it was. So
there you go.
I got that poster probably shortly after the fight. So 2008. So I probably would have been 19. Because if it was early 2008, then I would have been 19 at the time. So there you go, 19-year-old Jeremy there with my Avs hat and Chuck Liddell and Vanderlei Silva there. That's still my favorite fight of all time. It's never going to be topped because I don't care about UFC enough nowadays for it to be topped. But that's going to always be my favorite fight of all time.
That was a great fight. That was a legit. Sorry, because I can't see you. I can't tell when you're done talking. Yeah. So if there's a pause, I'm assuming that you're done talking. Sorry. I was going to say that that was one of the like legitimate super fights between Pride and UFC. I mean, that was like, because for people who didn't live through that, Chuck Liddell had competed in Pride before, like he famously lost to Quentin Rampage Jackson in Pride. His main career was in the UFC, and he was like, obviously like one of the first big like UFC stars in like 2005, 2006, and at the same time over in Pride, Vanderlei Silva, who had previously competed in the UFC, he became the man in Pride, and like the big debate was who's the best 205-pound fighter in the world. Is it Chuck Liddell or is it Vanderlei Silva? But there was also an argument for Shogun Rua, but Shogun wouldn't fight Vanderlei because they trained together. That's a whole other story. But basically, everyone wanted to see Chuck Liddell versus Vanderlei Silva for a long time. And when the UFC purchased Pride, or Zuffa, technically purchased Pride, however you want to look at it, they merged the companies, and that was like one of the main. Like I remember watching that fight. The reason I remember it happening when I was in college is because I watched that fight in a bar with like a whole table full of dudes who like we all wanted to see who was going to win between Chuck Liddell and Vanderlei Silva, and it was a great fight. The actual fight totally, because it wound up going to a decision, right? That Liddell won the decision. Yeah. It was a great. It was all. The only critique of it at all, I think, is that like, if it would have happened a little bit earlier, when they were a little bit more in their primes, it would have been even better. But the fact that we got it at all when they were still, they were still them. Like they weren't taking crazy knockout losses fight after fight at that point. It eventually came to that for both guys, unfortunately. But yeah, man, I have very, very fond memories of that era of MMA, and I'm with you. I still watch all the UFC events. A lot of that has to do with the gambling aspect that we talk about a lot. I actually did great this past weekend. But yeah, I don't have the same kind of, it's different. Like it's going to be hard for me to top I'm with you. Like it's going to be hard for anything current day to top those kind of things for me as well.
Yeah, those were definitely like the best days when it came to UFC. Nowadays, like I don't know, everything just feels the same, and I'm not into it as much. But we're gonna jump into our professional wrestling here. I apologize if this is a little bit shorter show than usual, again because I'm not feeling up to my best. I don't want to hold things back with Jensen, so I'm gonna let Jensen cook this entire show, and when I need to call him out on his Cody Rhodes bullshit, I will do that. But otherwise, oh god, I have no shirt on. I just took my shirt off because I'm like it's too hot in here, but no one can tell, so it's fine. Let's jump into AEW and hit Full Gear.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Full Gear this Saturday, likely headlined by Hangman Page and Samoa Joe, maybe headlined by Mercedes Moné against Chris Statlander. I don't know. What do you think, Jensen? What do you think should headline? And then overall, what are your thoughts on this card, and what are you most looking forward to?
So I think that Hangman and Samoa Joe, I think you can make an argument for either of those matches. Especially if Mercedes and that's a pretty epic. And did I drop for a second? Can you hear me?
I think that was you. Yeah, I think that was you.
Okay. I don't know when that cut off, but I was just going to say, I can make the argument for either match headlining. My gut was Hangman and Samoa Joe in the steel cage, but I think it would be a pretty epic ending to the pay-per-view if Mercedes winds up winning, and if she's holding, all those championships at the end of the show, then I think you can make an argument for that too. I also I'm not saying that Samoa Joe is going to win the AEW World Championship. As a matter of fact, I do think it's a long shot, and I think we all think that. But I do think that there is a case that could be made to why it would make sense for him to actually win the championship. Once again, don't think you should do it. I want to see Hangman have a long run. But Samoa Joe has history with Darby Allin, for instance, that I could when Samoa Joe won the championship from MJF, I didn't expect that to happen at that time either. It wound up happening kind of due to circumstance with Adam Cole being injured and MJF also being injured. But I'm just kind of throwing it out there into the world. I think I'm more, how do I put it this? I have more of a feeling that Samoa Joe could win the championship on this show than I did the last pay-per-view when they wrestled each other, if that makes sense.
Right.
Which is good, which is the AEW doing their job, selling. Another thing is Samoa Joe, as we've always talked about, Samoa Joe has so much, he's already a legend of wrestling. Samoa Joe. You don't really have to sell me on Samoa Joe getting a world championship match, but you do kind of have to sell me on the idea that Hangman has a chance of losing the title, and they've done a decent job, I think, of that with Samoa Joe. Now, once again, my actual prediction is Hangman Page to retain, and I liked last night how Hangman reminded everybody of what he does in steel cage matches, and alluding, to the sick places he went with, Swerve and everything. Hangman can tap into that next level. And also, by the way, just it's worth mentioning, I saw a random, it was a random news station. It had to have been local to the show, but I saw on my YouTube feed, there was a 5 to 10 minute long interview that I watched of Hangman Page doing a local news station interview, and totally out of character. And I kind of want to see more of that guy on screen also, if that makes sense. He's a really, really likable guy when he's just kind of kicking back and talking. And I like his character, and I like Hangman. He's one of my favorite, wrestlers in the world right now. But there's kind of that other side to him where he's just a really likable, good-hearted guy, and he's a really good representative of the company. When I think of wrestlers doing media and stuff, I always think about, the WWE and, Cody Rhodes in his suit and Roman Reigns when he was the champion. And of course, John Cena for all those years and so on and so forth. But like Hangman Page really is a great representative of AEW in the media also. So that's just something kind of to keep in mind, because I think AEW can benefit more and more from getting their guys out there and really having them viewed like superstars, like having them go, not, superstars in the WWE term, of course, but you know what I mean? Like going out there and, having that big AEW World Championship belt on a television station. And he's a very well-spoken, educated guy who he was like a teacher before he was a wrestler. Like he's like, so there's a lot of reasons to keep the title on Hangman Page. And I think that they should. And then on the flip side, on the other match, Mercedes and Statlander, I do think Mercedes is going to win the championship. I think she's going to hold even more gold. I'm not even necessarily mad about it, because like that is the gimmick at this point, and she is very, very good. She's, if we're talking strictly female wrestlers, she's arguably the best still right now, like legitimately. So like she deserves the success she's getting. I understand not everyone's going to love the idea of winning all these championships all at the same time. I understand that too, but I do think she's going to win the championship. So, kind of going by that logic, it depends on what they do. If they want to end the show with Mercedes winning the title and holding all the gold at the end of the show, that makes sense. If they want to have Hangman celebrating at the end of the show after he overcomes Samoa Joe, that makes sense. Or maybe they, Hangman retains and then they, tease the next angle. Like maybe, MJF returns and, teases that he's going to cash in soon or something like that. Like who knows? But what do you think? Who do you think is going to main event the show?
I think it's going to be Hangman and Joe. I think it should be Mercedes and Statlander. I like your idea of MJF returning and going after Hangman. I could also see, I know Joe just turned heel, but MJF returning and going after Joe, who defeated him for the title, also makes some sense. But because MJF still has the Casino Gauntlet contract, like he's immediately in the title picture when he does return, if that's where they want to go with him. So I could definitely see that. I don't think that Joe is going to win. I'm kind of with you I wouldn't mind Joe winning. There's a case for Joe winning, but you kind of got to sell me on Hangman losing more than Joe winning. And right now still doesn't feel the right time for Hangman to lose. I think Stat's going to beat Mercedes, though. I think that's been the story of Mercedes beat her twice last year to retain the TBS title. Now Statlander gets the victory back here. And the story for Mercedes is she can win all of these titles. She cannot win the women's championship. And eventually she will get this title, but that is the one title that will continue to elude her, I think, for at least the next year or so. She might have to go on this downfall of losing all of these titles and then rebuild herself to finally get the women's title. So I think Statlander is going to win, and I think Hangman's going to win as well.
Yeah, and I've said it on this show for years, and I was saying it prior to Statlander even being in AEW. Like I'm a longtime fan of hers. I would be, personally speaking, I'd prefer Statlander to beat Mercedes and retain, because I'm on more of the side of like not wanting to see Mercedes holding all the championships. Although like I'm not like necessarily against it either. Like we kind of saw it with Kenny Omega, but not with this many belts. And of course it reminds me of Ultimo Dragon, which is the whole idea with Ultimo Monet and everything. But like, I can see both sides of it, but I'm also like, I'm a really big Statlander fan. So she just recently won the title. I don't really want her losing the title anytime soon either. But if she was going to lose it anytime soon, I think Mercedes is really the only person that makes sense, like based on everything that we just talked about. But my official prediction, I'm going to stick with Mercedes, but I'm not, I personally speaking, and once again, this is nothing against Mercedes when I say personally speaking. I want to see Statlander, continue as the champion personally.
Also on the card, we have Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe for the TNT Championship. That's no DQ, and if Briscoe loses, he will be in the Don Callis family.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I had the wrong thing up on my screen. Give me just 1 second.
No problem. All right, I'll give my thoughts on this real quickly.
Yeah,
I think that Fletcher should win, and I think that Mark Briscoe and the Don Callis family would be amazing television with the skits they could do. It also, I'm leaning towards Briscoe winning because I don't think they want to add another person to the Don Callis family. And Mark Briscoe, I also think, does deserve a championship. I think Mark Briscoe's fantastic. But I'm really excited for the possibility of Mark Briscoe in the Don Callis family and doing a bunch of skits with them.
Okay. I'm good now, by the way. I had something froze on my end. Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, I can see both sides of it also, right? Like, at one point, like at some point, like I've made my thoughts known on like the state of the AEW championships, too many titles, TNT titles. That doesn't mean that much to me to begin with, so on and so forth. But like, I would like Mark Briscoe to win something big as a singles wrestler in AEW, and like the TNT championship, him beating Kyle Fletcher, it makes a lot of sense storyline wise. And like they've been going at it for a while, and like Briscoe's been super close. But like there is the whole other side of it of like all the stories and everything you could possibly or potentially do with Mark Briscoe having to join the Callis family, which already has so many members and are also trying to recruit the young bucks right now. Was your official prediction Fletcher winning and Briscoe having to join?
No, I think Briscoe's going to win.
Okay. There's been a couple pay-per-views now where I've taken Briscoe kind of against what I think the popular prediction would have been. And that's the only thing that's holding me back, because now I'm like, all right, I'm going to go with Briscoe again. And like, it's like not going to happen again. I am going to go with Briscoe. I don't think there's really not a reason for him to join the Don Callis family when they already have so many members and they have pretty much the same storyline going with the Young Bucks right now. Although I think that story is going to pretty much end with the Young Bucks on this pay, or at least, I don't expect the Young Bucks to join the Callis family on this pay-per-view. And that'll probably happen during the pay-per-view also. So maybe it's a bad night for the Callis family. We'll see how that looks like going forward in the storylines. Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely see it being a bad night for the Don Callis family. You mentioned it. The Young Bucks and Josh Alexander against Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express. I expect Omega and Jurassic Express to win, and then Don Callis gets very mad at the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks say F off, and we get, if not the full-on Elite reunion here, certainly the Bucks are kind of baby faces again, and then the Dynamite follow-up will be them talking and them kind of getting the Elite back together.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Also, I meant to mention it earlier. Will McLean in the chat had mentioned or had asked, MJF has to call his shot now, right? Not a straight cash in. That's correct. It's like a week. But what me and Jeremy are talking about is like, him coming out and attacking one of these guys, or like, similar to like when he had the casino, the poker chip. It's like just showing, like making it pretty clear to everybody, like you're coming for that championship soon. But that is a good question that needs to be asked, because if there was any time that this stipulation should just be immediate, it should be when MJF has that thing. It makes it way more interesting if he can just straight cash it in. But I get AEW's trying to be a little different, not just be a straight up Money in the Bank, and they wanted to set some actual rules this time because it was very vague as to what the rules even were when MJF won it. Anyways, that's a side note. But I'm with you on the everything you said about the Elite, Jurassic Express. Oh, by the way, real vacuum cleaner, Crimea River last night. That was awesome. Luchasaurus coming out with a vacuum cleaner. It was sick.
Luchasaurus straight up Marge Simpson in the Simpsons side scroller with the vacuum cleaner. Ruled.
I didn't even think about that. That's so funny. I remember that game. That was in like the arcades also, I think. Yeah. Because I remember that was in the arcades, and I think my like dentist had it, and like they had like a Sega Genesis or something in their waiting room back in like the mid '90s. I remember it was crazy. It was like I remember looking forward to going to the dentist because they had like video games there that I didn't have at home. Anyways, yeah, I guess the only reservation, I shouldn't even say reservation. The only thing that I guess is like to be determined is, what does the Elite reunion look like? Like, how many times are they going to do this in AEW? I know the company's been around for 6 years, but I feel like we've gotten like at least 3 or 4 of these like big Elite reunions, and then it's just kind of like not lived up to how we felt about the Elite when AEW started. Kind of, does that make sense? Yeah. Like, they got to have like a real plan for this. If they're going to reunite the Elite, like. And granted, like part of that was due to like weird circumstances, like when the Elite won the Trios championships and then were suspended, and then they just like didn't say anything about why on TV, and the whole CM Punk thing happened and all that. So there's been some weird reasons why it hasn't worked out probably how I would expect it to. Also, we haven't even mentioned that there's $1 million on the line in this one as well, which the Young Bucks could really use. To not have to, if they got $1 million, they don't really have any use for Don Callis, because all Don Callis has really done for them is like get their pyro back and music and gear and stuff like that. Like, they don't really need to use him for money if they get $1 million. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna take the Young Bucks. Well, I'm gonna take the Kenny Omega and the Jurassic Express winning the match, and some sort of fallout where the Young Bucks make it clear that they're not going to join the Callis family and are reuniting with Kenny Omega.
We're gonna kind of jump around a little bit here, but talking about the Don Callis family and how it could be a bad night for them on the pre-show, the tailgate brawl. It'll be Okada, Takeshita, and Hechicero against Mystico, Mascara Dorada, and Neon for the CML Trios Championships. And I think this is kind of where the Don Callis family night gets off to a bad start, because I don't think they're going to win the Trios Championships. I think Hechicero's probably there to kind of take the loss while Okada and Takeshita are fighting amongst themselves. And then that'll kind of get the ball rolling on, this night kind of sucks for the Don Callis family.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that Okada and Takeshita, in particular, are on the pre-show. Just going to throw that out there. Kind of like, two of the biggest stars in the company. Also, two of the biggest Japanese stars in like the entire world. Like, a lot of Japanese wrestling fans that would probably want to watch this on pay-per-view. Just saying. I know that we're both big fans of both Okada and Takeshita. Like, and this feels like a big story that obviously it's been brewing for a long time between these two. Okada even used the Raging Fire. That's what he calls it, right? The Raging Fire, the spinning Michinoku driver, or not Michinoku driver. Why am I blanking on the name of that move? The Burning Hammer. Not Burning Hammer. No, geez. What's that? What's Falcon Arrow? Anyways, the spinning Falcon Arrow. That said, I would like to see these guys on the pay-per-view. I'm with you 1,000,000% on everything you said. I think that El Sky team is going to retain the titles, and Hechicero is going to be the one that takes the pinfall. I totally expect there to be more miscommunication between, like, the last time Okada and Takeshita teamed, it was the same kind of thing where they like totally weren't on the same page. So yeah, I'm with you. But hopefully, soon, I imagine that this will be a big pay-per-view match at some point between these two, Takeshita versus Okada, and that will be on the actual pay-per-view, obviously, by the time that actually happens. But I just kind of feel like that's, it's a 14-match show. I'm just kind of surprised that like Okada and Takeshita aren't on the actual pay-per-view, but that's just my own opinion on that.
Yeah, it was a little surprising that it was on the pre-show, but it's also not really a pay-per-view worthy match, and I don't know what else they were going to do if they weren't on this pre-show. So, right. I don't think you're going to put them in like the Casino Gauntlet or anything. I guess you could have, but Okada should probably win that, or potentially win that, or Takeshita should potentially win that, and they're not going to. So I understand why you would keep them out of that at the same time. But yeah, I get it. the
Bro,
tag team
imagine they put Okada in that and he won the national championship. So he was the national champion, the international champion, the continental champion, and the unified champion.
That would actually
that could all really just be one title belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that would actually rule if they did that. I'd support it. I mean, well, speaking of the national title, we have the Casino Gauntlet. We know that Speedball Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, Ricochet, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin are the confirmed entrants for this thing. And we know that Lashley and Benjamin will start 1 and 2. I think they should do a finger poke of doom spot. Lashley wins the title. The rest of these dudes can F off because Lashley and MVP and Shelton Benjamin are like, we got gold. Good luck taking this title from Bobby Lashley. I don't suspect that will happen. I just think it'd be the most hilarious outcome. But what are your thoughts on this one?
I did think of that idea as well. It kind of reminds me too, of course, Finger Poke of Doom is the best example. Remember back in WCW when like the Outsiders would wrestle tag team matches and they were the WCW tag champs. They would do like 4 corners tag matches. They'd both get in the ring. They both get tagged in at the same time and try to pin themselves basically to win, because it's like they're winning and losing at the same time, but technically one of those guys is winning. Anyways, I think that that would be a really, really, if you're going to create a brand new championship, and the first thing you're going to do to establish it is Finger Poke of Doom, and you're advertising like a 20-person gauntlet match or whatever, and literally 2 people get on the show. We never get to see Ricochet wrestle. We never get to see Speedball, Kevin Knight. We never get to see the guys actually in the ring and wrestle. Now, I'm not against the idea of, them saying that there's like, 20 people scheduled for this or whatever. And like, you only get like 5. Well, I'd like to see more personally. I want to see more people on the show, but I like the idea of you wanting to get in this match early. Like, people are fighting to be number 1 and number 2, which is obviously very different than what we normally see. For like the Royal Rumble, you're trying to get a late number. For the Elimination Chamber, you want to be in last, so on and so forth. With this, it's like, I do like that, and I hope that does happen at some point. Like, I'd like to see a gauntlet match like this with high stakes, or maybe it only does get like 3 or 4 people in, if it's the right people in the right circumstance. But when you're establishing a brand new championship, I feel like you got to have more than just what's been announced, and you definitely don't want to start it off with a Finger Poke of Doom. I do not know who's going to win this match. It's really hard to make a prediction because it's very possible it's not any of the people that are announced at this point. I don't know what winning. Of the people that were announced, I think that's the most likely. Especially, I mean, once again, I don't think it's the best look. Ricochet got pretty murked last night. It was like wasn't even close. But like, then like you make him the champion. He gets killed on Wednesday. Then he's the champion over the weekend. Brand new championship. Kind of weird. But once again, there's no need to even make this title to begin with. So I don't know why they're doing this or who they're going to put it on. I don't see any reason really to put it on Lashley or Benjamin, even though I like both guys for different reasons. Ricochet just explained why I don't think that's like the best idea coming off of like the destruction from Lashley. You have Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, who are basically a tag team at this point. They are both great singles wrestlers in their own rights, but Jet Speed's really been their main focus. So my prediction is going to be somebody that's not on this list. I just don't know. I don't know who it's going to be because I don't know what the purpose of this title serves. I know that there's going to be a match on the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view for the championship. So I guess that's good to know that they're going to try to make this like a title that's actually defended in multiple companies. But obviously, Ring of Honor is not that big of a deal because Tony owns that too. Like, I want to see it defended outside of just companies he owns. So we'll see. I don't. Do you have anyone else in mind like that's not listed that you think's got a chance at this that would make any sense?
Yeah. Well, I think Ricochet is going to win. The other people who could potentially be in this match, we have a bunch of conglomeration members who are not on this show. Guys like Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy. It always feels like a strong pick. I know Eddie Kingston and Hook are on the pre-show. I think that sucks, and I wouldn't mind if they are in this match because I think they're both kind of above just doing open challenge nonsense on the pre-show. I don't think that benefits them, certainly. So if I'm going with like some type of sleeper pick, I would say Orange Cassidy because I think he's a guy that can always just kind of fill a role and be in a championship spot. I don't think a guy like Ace Austin is going to win, but I think a guy like Ace Austin can be in this match and have a really good showcase.
I like the idea of that. And yeah, I mean, I feel like they kind of already did that with Orange Cassidy with the international championship, but I know what you mean. Like he did very well with that championship.
I mean, we can throw in some Death Rider people. Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio is always a strong option for things like this. So they have names who have not been announced who are under contract if they're not going to do any surprises. I expect maybe one or two surprises in this, although most of the New Japan people are working tag league right now, so I don't think you'll get too many of them. CMLL Mystico's already on the pre-show, so is Dorada. So those are typically the two CMLL talents that they really like to showcase. So I don't think you'll get either of them. I think Beast Mortos is wrestling in Mexico this weekend, so I don't think like he'll be there. And not that he would win this anyway. So yeah, as far as like under contract talent who don't have a role on this show, I think maybe look towards Conglomeration or Death Rider members to be in this match and even potentially win it.
Louisville in the chat with a great comment says, "Can Andrade wrestle in a full suit to disguise himself?" That's funny.
Technically, he could. He would just have he would not have to do certain moves that you would expect from Andrade. He's got to grab a hold, grab a headlock, and that's how he wrestles the match.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's such a funny idea. So I got a few thoughts on that. First off, if it is someone from a conglomeration, I would actually really like it to be Wheeler Yuta for a few reasons. Okay. One, because I like Yuta, and I think that'd be interesting. Like he's winning championships while Moxley's losing. You know what I mean? Like they create an interesting dynamic where he's kind of been the whipping boy this whole time, but like he's actually being successful, and like Moxley isn't. And then you have, Yuta can have great matches at Ring of Honor. He's very technically sound. But on top of that, because I want to see this title defended in other companies, defended on the independents potentially, that kind of stuff, Wheeler Yuta would be a great guy to do that. And it gives him something. It gives him like an actual big win. Like he's unlike Daniel Garcia. Like Wheeler Yuta hasn't had a chance with the TNT Championship or any kind of belt really in AEW. He's been really an afterthought in a lot of these groups and stuff. And I think it's time for him to finally break out a little bit more. Now, granted, he's been the pure champion. And he's had some success in Ring of Honor and stuff, but like on the bigger stage in AEW, this would be the biggest win he's ever had. So I'd like to see that. Also, this just came to mind. Do you have any idea when Jay White's supposed to be back? Because he'd be another guy that, like, if he's ready, I could see him being like the first champion of this.
He teased a return about a month ago. He tweeted something about, I think it was like cleared ? I think that was the tweet.
Yeah,
I'll double check on that of what it actually was. But I think the follow up was that Jay White is probably out until the end of the year. Is what Fightful Select had reported earlier this year.
I mean, we were pretty close to the end of the year. I know we aren't technically end of the year, but we're only a month away from the end of the year. Like that's still timeline could maybe. I don't know. That's just the name that I thought. I'm just trying to think of like returns that might be possible. So like, I'll throw his name out there, but yeah.
The Jay White tweet, by the way, was ready ? Not cleared.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think the original reporting on Jay White was even like not even end of the year. It was more like into next year with everything so this was from July. Granted, things can change. It's been however many months from July. I'm terrible at math, but 5 months since July. So it says sources in the company have said that White had been weighing whether or not to get shoulder surgery, though we haven't heard if a decision was made. If so, it's possible he'd miss the rest of the year, so that kind of implies he'd be out until 2026.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I hope, I'd like to see some surprises in this match. I will say if Jay White somehow is in the match, that's my pick. But otherwise, like I would like to see Wheeler Yuta win. I think that'd be awesome. But once again, I don't know what they're planning to. I don't know how this title is going to really be different than the TNT Championship or their Continental Championship or any of the other championships they already have with essentially mid card titles. So like I don't know. We'll see. So that's that.
Speaking of Death Riders, we have Jon Moxley against Kyle O'Reilly in a no holds barred match, and Pac against Darby Allin. How do you think these two play out?
I think both Death Riders lose.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, dude, you know how much I love Kyle O'Reilly. I've been wanting this push for him for forever. Even going back to like his time in Ring of Honor, he eventually became the Ring of Honor World Champion and like he had a very good run there. But then like in NXT, had a great run with Undisputed Era. But by the time he had a chance to like be the guy and be a main eventer, I don't think he ever actually won the NXT Championship either. He was like in the Karrion Kross era where he was like in the in-between like the black and gold and the 2.0. Like he just got like in an alternate universe, Kyle O'Reilly is NXT World Champion, goes onto the main roster, has a huge run as a singles guy or with the rest of the guy. Like it just, the timing was just weird. And then you have his run at AEW where he had a lot of momentum, got injured. He's been back. We've talked about that a lot. And what he's been doing with Moxley, I think, has been great. He's had Moxley's number this entire feud. He had that big definitive submission win over him in the Blood and Guts match. And it's kind of the story right now of Moxley taking all these losses and how the Death Riders, I think, eventually are going to turn on him. So I don't see any reason to like halt the momentum that Kyle's been building, and him beating Jon Moxley one-on-one in this match would be really big for his trajectory. So I'm taking Kyle O'Reilly there. And then honestly, like really similar reasons for Darby Allin over Pac. Like Darby's got a lot of momentum, Blood and Guts match as well. He's the guy who like we all know is going to become the AEW World Champion. It's just a matter of when they want to do it. And I don't see I like Pac a lot, and I think there's a lot they can do with him. We've talked about the idea of him potentially taking over the Death Riders if they wind up booting Moxley at some point in the near future. But once again, similar to O'Reilly, I just feel like Darby and O'Reilly both like you have a lot of momentum going with these two baby faces that have not been the world champions before, and you can have great matches with those guys. I just don't see any reason to beat either of them. And then also, like, once again, I think it's a long shot that Wheeler Yuta is going to win the national title, but that would be even more of an interesting story that I was kind of breaking down where like Mox loses, Pac loses, Mox loses, like everyone loses in the Death Riders except for Wheeler Yuta. Like the one guy who like everyone just like beats around. So yeah, I'm going with Darby and Kyle to both win.
I think Pac beats Darby, and I hope O'Reilly beats Moxley, and then Moxley is out of the Death Riders, because that seems to be the story they've been telling, with Moxley continuing to lose and tap out and not making good on his words, and so the Death Riders just kind of need a shift in leadership. Pac beating Darby would prove like, hey, I beat this dude. Like you quit, you tapped out against him. I murked him. Now, I'm not saying it's gonna be a squash for Pac or anything, but I do think he should kind of take the majority of the match and look really good in it, because I don't think Darby really loses anything from that. I think it would be a mistake to have Moxley win after all they've done to build up O'Reilly, the Blood and Guts tap out, the way they've kind of booked Moxley. It feels like if Moxley wins, it's like, all right, we're just back to square one with the Death Riders. They're just beating people. Moxley's still the kind of the guy in this whole group, and still kind of the guy in like this whole grand scheme of AEW, which Moxley has been the ace for a lot of years in AEW, but the way they've been booking everything, it feels like they are shifting him at least away from the top heel position and maybe going back into a babyface position. And it just feels like a mistake if he wins this match and things just kind of stay the same. Feels like we need a little bit of progression with all of this, and I think the best way to progress is Moxley losing. I am a little worried that Moxley wins and they don't actually do any of the progression, though.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you with all that. I'm going to stick with Darby winning, but like I understand your line of thinking with Pac, especially in relation to like Moxley being booted and Pac kind of stepping up potentially, because in using part of the reason that he can beat Darby and Mox can't, and so on and so forth. So I like that we both agree on Kyle O'Reilly. Like you got an opportunity here. Just push him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's in the right company for that. Like this is the best company he could possibly be in, because like AEW is obviously so reliant on people having banger matches and putting on these like top to bottom shows of like just great match. Kyle can totally produce that with literally anyone on the roster. He's one of the most like, everyone gives high effort. Like, don't get me wrong, but I remember hearing stories about him because he also has diabetes. It's very well documented. He talks about it all the time. I remember like back in like the Ring of Honor days, people who trained with him were like worried for him because they were just like, this guy goes harder than anyone I have ever seen, but also has to like monitor his like blood constantly. Like, it's just like, it's just like people always were just like, how is this guy going so damn hard? And it's just, I like, this is the best company for him to succeed in, because he can just have great matches with these people. I think Moxley puts him over like $1 million this weekend, and just continue to push Kyle O'Reilly. You have something there, Tony Khan. Do it.
Tag team titles: Brodito against FTR. Who you got?
I'm going to take FTR to win the titles here. I don't know exactly when Cope comes back. I think I saw that he's still filming a movie or something. I know he was filming a movie, but I shouldn't say it like that. I know he was filming a movie, and I think he still is. I don't know when he's going to be back, but it can't be that long that he's going to be gone. So that's kind of waiting, I think. Like, you still got to do the whole Edge and Christian versus FTR, Edge and Christian winning the tag team titles thing. So for that to happen, FTR needs to win the belts. So I'm going to say FTR wins.
I think Brodito should win. I can see the case for FTR, but I like the Brodito run, and I want it to continue. I think FTR has been doing great work since the Cope feud, and I think they've done a very good job in this feud. I don't know when Cope's going to be back. I don't think that feud ever needed a title. I still don't think it needs a title. So I'm fine if it doesn't have a title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense too.
Women's 4-way: Babes of Wrath, Sisters of Sin, Timeless Love Bombs, and Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir. The winning team gets to choose the stipulation for their semifinal match. I think this match is stupid. I don't get quite the point of it outside of let's get the 4 semifinalists on the show. It feels dumb to beat one of them before the semifinals. Like, just do the semifinals on this show if you're gonna do anything. I don't like this match. I think it's a dumb match.
Yeah, and having a team get to choose their stipulation is like super unfair. This doesn't make sense in a tournament like this.
Yeah, so one semifinal gets a stipulation and the other doesn't, and then the finals is also a normal match. This whole thing just feels pointless to me. It feels like, oh, let's get all these people on the show because they're in the tournament and we want them all on the show. But if you paced out the tournament better, you could have just done the finals on this show.
I agree, and I don't know like what stands out as far as like a type of match that any of these teams would want for an advantage. Like
it's going to be a street fight. That's going to be the match. They're just going to pick a street fight. They'll call it something different, I'm sure.
Right.
But they might just call it a street fight. But it's going to be a street fight.
Yeah, so I guess coin toss between Timeless Love Bombs and the Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir team, because either way, you can have it as like a some sort of street fight for Megan Bayne and Shafir, or some sort of like timeless, whatever they brand it as some sort of weird like whatever William Regal called that match whenever he was like dressed up like like an old timey person or whatever, like call it whatever. Yeah, who cares? Who like this? I'm with you. I don't know why they're even doing this. I'm gonna take the Timeless Love Bombs. I think because I don't think they're gonna win the tournament.
Fair. I think Willow, Harley, and Sisters of Sin can also do a street fight. They're all well equipped to do a street fight. I think they've all been in a street fight before, so it makes sense either side of the stipulation. Honestly, it just feels dumb that one side gets stipulation and the other doesn't. And if you want to do just make them both street fights. Just both the teams just agree, hey, screw this, let's do a street fight on this. I don't like it, but I'm sure it'll be a fine match. Quickly on the pre-show, we got Doom and Boom, Boom and Doom, Big Boom AJ, and QT Marshall against Rocky Romero and Trent. Obviously, our guys, QT, my guys anyway.
Yeah, no, QT for sure.
Yeah, well, Big Boom, that's my guy as well. I mean, they're winning.
Yes. I hope Rocky takes the pin. I'm still a Trent guy.
I would assume he will.
Yeah. I cannot believe that the Big Boom, if the Rizzler is still involved, and I saw the Rizzler's got a meal at like Checkers or something now. I don't know. Like QT Marshall rules. Okay, that guy was so nice when he came on our show. Like that guy's awesome, and he put over Big Boom AJ and that family big time. So because of my respect for QT, I'm going to leave it at that. They're going to win the match. And QT also, by the way, incredible match against Paul Walter Hauser. Like QT rules, especially in these like weird circumstance matches. But yeah, they're going to win. And like I said, I'm a Trent guy, so I'm hoping Rocky takes the pinfall.
4-way match for $200,000. So Tony's just handing out money left and right on this show. Not the Acclaimed against Bang Bang Gang, Big Bill and Brian Keith, and the Outrunners. I assume Bang Bang Gang wins.
Yeah, this amount of money is just weird too. Like how they feel like they need to attach $200,000 to this match, as if that's gonna like push forward a storyline, which maybe it will. I don't know. Really, the only real storyline here is as you mentioned, as you called them, the not Acclaimed. They're really the only ones with like a real story in this, that they don't even want to be teaming together. So that leads me to think that they're gonna they are just gonna win. So I'm just gonna take the Acclaimed.
And then the open challenge, Hook and Eddie Kingston against Workhorsemen. It feels pretty obvious who's winning this.
Yeah, there's no way the Workhorsemen lose this match. We got now listen, I like the Workhorsemen a lot. They are. I'm going to take Hook and Kingston, of course, as my prediction, but I do. Anthony Henry, when it comes to like the Southeast, he's one of the best independent wrestlers to come out of like the Southeast, like indie scene, maybe ever. And JD Drake, just from a different spot. Same with him as singles guys, but as a tag team, as the Workhorsemen, I've always felt like they've done incredible work as a team. I love, JD Drake. I was always so mad when he was like running around with the, what was the name of that group? The Truth Busters? Is that what the group he was in?
No, he was part of I feel it was something like Gentleman. I feel like the name escapes my mind now.
Yeah, it was like that.
Like Peter Avalon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell did they call that group? I don't even remember anymore.
Hold on,
but when he was running around with them, he was running around with the Job Squad. I was like,
Wingmen,
dude,
the Wingmen.
The Wingmen, yeah. I was always like, this isn't good. Like, this does not do this guy justice. Like, JD Drake's a throwback. He can really, really go in the ring. And the only thing that's ever really held Anthony Henry back is like he's had like a lot of injuries he's dealt with. But people forget, like, he was in the WWE system for a short time at like that weird time when they were like, signing indie talent and they got rid of all of them during the pandemic. But yeah, I got huge respect for the Work Horsemen, but Hook and Kingston were definitely winning.
That is Full Gear. I'm sure it'll be a great show as AEW typically delivers on their pay-per-views. Let's head to the WWE universe.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
WarGames starting to take shape. I mean, for the men's side, it's fully confirmed. The women's side is more or less confirmed. We kind of know who is there. But for the men's side, it is officially Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, the Usos, and Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and Brock Lesnar. What are your thoughts on the teams on the men's side, Jensen?
I like this. I like where this has gone. We both had a pretty good idea of where this was heading when we talked last week. We both figured Brock was probably going to be joining the Vision side. We both thought that Roman was probably going to be on the babyface side. Weren't sure about Cena or Jimmy, but they went Jimmy. And the only odd man out was like, who's going to be the other guy for the Vision? We had talked a little bit about Austin Theory, because of a lot of these rumors going out there about him being potentially added to the group or something like that. I do think Drew McIntyre is a much better choice. He has history with all these guys on the babyface team. The only other person I was thinking of that it could have maybe been is like Randy Orton, but Randy Orton hasn't turned yet, but I expect him to, and I could even see it maybe being Randy Orton versus Cody at WrestleMania. So I was thinking maybe Randy Orton, but Drew makes the most sense, and I'm glad that Drew's in the match. Like, even if he was like a more regular part of the Vision, I wouldn't be mad about it. With Seth being gone, especially, like, Drew could really be in Seth's spot. Like, the guys are, there's differences between the two guys, but like they are kind of interchangeable because they both have very similar history with CM Punk, which was like the whole catalyst of the Heyman turn and Heyman siding with Seth and stuff. Like, you could easily just kind of pivot and have Drew be the leader of the Vision, and it would actually totally make sense. So just kind of throwing that out there too. I am taking the babyface team, though. I just can't see a team that consists of the Usos, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes losing a match. I just can't wrap my head around it. It's too much of a super team. So,
I mean,
but I like how it's turned out. I think Logan is probably the most likely.
Okay.
And I also think that they can kind of like shun him out of it completely too. Like, if they wanted to, like after the match, they're like, maybe Drew sticks around, Brock sticks around when Brock is around. He's obviously part-time, but if you lean more into like Drew, Braun, and Bronson with Heyman, and they're just like, Logan's a loser. Like, we only used him because we needed someone else in the match. Like, and he was an easy attack on CM Punk. There's ways you can do that. Also, I thought it was really funny. I actually retweeted it. Logan earlier today was talking about how, what did he say? Did you see that tweet he had about the Undertaker?
Yeah.
I thought it was great. He said, so Undertaker finally like created his own YouTube channel, and he said, I'm tired of these outsiders thinking they can just become YouTubers, which I thought was great because everyone says that about Logan. Everyone thinks these YouTubers can just come in and be wrestlers. 99.999% of them can't, but Logan totally did and continues to thrive. But yeah, I'm going to take Logan Paul to lose the match for the Vision.
I kind of think that the heels will win and Jimmy is there to lose for them.
Well, I mean, if the heels win, I think Jimmy is for sure the top candidate. There's like two guys. There's a guy on each team that's kind of like the glaring there's no reason to beat Braun Breaker at all. Bronson Reed's got too much momentum after beating Roman Reigns. Brock's not taking the loss. You know what I mean? Just process of elimination, like Logan just makes the most sense. There's no reason to have Drew lose.
Yeah.
But on the babyface side, like you're gonna pin the either world champion or Roman Reigns. I mean, maybe you pin Jay, but like I think Jimmy's still they're still trying to. What was the thing in Mean Girls? Still trying to make fetch happen. Still trying to make Yeet happen. You're still trying to make Yeet happen with Jey Uso. So I don't see him losing either.
And then on the women's side, we have Charlotte Flair, Alexa, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and it will be AJ Lee against Kairi Sane, Asuka, Lash Legend, Nia Jax, and it will be Becky Lynch.
So my big question is, do you have both babyface teams win? Because kind of similar to the men's side, the women's side on the babyface team, that's a pretty stacked super group in itself. I mean, Rhea, Io, Alexa, Charlotte, AJ. I mean, Charlotte's the most decorated woman ever in the company. Rhea is probably the most over woman they currently have, one of the most over superstars of any gender that they currently have. Io is right there with Rhea, totally for totally different reasons. Alexa, AJ's got a lot of momentum. Obviously, she hasn't been around for a long time. Alexa and Charlotte are like, Alexa's a legitimate star. And then on the women's side, like Becky, major star, obviously. Asuka, way up there. Kairi, I like a lot, but not quite on the same level of Asuka. And then Nia is maybe the most polarizing female wrestler ever. I mean, like either you love her or you want, she's got I hated that term, the X-Pac heat term, but y'all know what I mean by it. She's got that go away heat where it's like, she either comes on the screen and you literally change the channel, or you're like, oh, let's see what she does to someone tonight. And then Lash Legend, there's still a lot of potential there, but I got to go with the women for similar reasons to the men. I just don't see a team like I definitely don't see AJ Lee losing. I don't see Charlotte. Like the only person I could see losing this match on the women's side is Alexa, maybe, but like there's no reason to really do that. But that's the only one that I really think might lose in this match. So, then on the other side, you can pin Kyrie or Lash, probably Lash, honestly.
I wouldn't pin Lash. I mean, I'd pin Nia over.
Well,
Lash.
I think most people would agree that they would like to see Nia take the loss, but I just don't think that she's going to be the one losing in this match.
Nia's taken plenty of losses. You don't need to have Lash lose her first. I know she's lost on the main roster before because she was up on the main roster. They did the tag team match with her and now Mara Sade. So it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but this would be kind of her first loss. It's her first big match, and then to beat her in her first big match since being up full time, I think that's kind of stupid. Nia takes losses all the time, and I don't think that would be a big deal. I think the babyface team is going to win, and that's why I think the heel team wins on the men's side. So that's where I'm at on the two matches. But both of these lineups are very stacked. I think the women, how they got there, I thought the whole Charlotte stuff was dumb. Of I'm not going to be on your team, and then 2 days later I'm on your team. Oh, that was pretty stupid. The rest of the setup for this has been very good, and I think the men's side, the setup for it has been largely good. I'm glad that it's Drew McIntyre and not Austin Theory, and the lineups are just completely stacked on these. Like they really put all their star power into both of these matches.
Yeah. Totally agree. So are your official predictions the heels for the men and the baby faces for the women?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm going babyface, but I think you can make an argument for both.
All right. We're going to go to other, which is kind of still AEW and WWE centric.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder, returned on SmackDown in the Last Time Is Now tournament, losing to LA Knight. And then Nic Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, returned on Raw in the tournament, losing to Solo Sikoa. technically they are TNA/independent wrestlers. Nemeth is signed to TNA. Cardona kind of does what he wants overall, but making their WWE returns for both a one-off. They both said it's just a one-off thing. But what did you think of their returns here, Jensen?
I don't have a whole lot to say, honestly, but I'm very happy for both guys. Like, you know, I you know, especially Cardona, because he's been gone longer and his road back has been really well documented, or, you know, he's created a lot of buzz, especially like when he beat Nick Gage for the GCW World Championship and he had that death match, and when he won that championship and MLJ on the microphone just sounds just disappointed that he's the new champ, and they're throwing trash and bottles. And I mean, that it was like, I mean, it's a much smaller scale because of, you know, way less people than like when Hollywood Hogan, you know, turned and joined the NWO and all that stuff with like the but it was like that kind of scene where like they showered him with trash when he won that title, and he was cut up like crazy. I mean, he and all the stuff he's done. He's been the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's been wrestling in TNA. He's been the world champion of like every independent company you could think of. He's done it all. He's got his own action figure line. I mean, you name it, Matt Cardona has achieved it since leaving the WWE. So to see him get back, even for just one night, was very cool. And like seeing that they got merchandise up. He got a Tops Now card, which is cool, on the Tops website. So did Dolph Ziggler as well. I watched Cardona talking to Brian Myers and Smart Mark Sterling on his podcast the other day. And Myers is like, you know, such a big, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but he's like such a big mark for like, you know, collectibles and trading cards and stuff. And he was like, man, if you get a Tops Now card, I'm going to be so jealous. And he did get it. So like, yeah, I know Myers just like, damn it. I think Myers would like, obviously he would probably love to have like a chance to return to the WWE for something, but like, I think he'd be even more pumped like than the actual return itself, like knowing he's going to get like a new trading card out there kind of thing. Which I think is really cool. Those guys never stop being fans. And then for Ziggler, you know, similar thoughts, but like, you know, the road back hasn't been as long. He hasn't. It's not to like diminish what Ziggler's accomplished since leaving the WWE. Obviously, he was the TNA World Champion. He's wrestled a lot of top tier independent shows and stuff like that. Been tag teaming with his brother and that kind of stuff. Tag team champions in TNA. Like he's had a lot of success on his own right. But like, you know, he wasn't out there doing the death matches and like really grinding the indie scene in the same way. And like, it hasn't been nearly as long. It's probably been less than half the amount of time he's been gone than Cardona, I would think. I might be wrong about that, but it doesn't feel like it's been as, you know, quite as long. So I'm happy for both guys. It was very cool. And it made sense because both those guys have history with John Cena. So like it made sense that they were in the tournament. Both guys got mentioned by name when Cena did that promo a while back, talking about like his history with, and he brought up like non-WWE guys. So as Pile Driver Finisher mentions, he says Dolph was out for maybe 2 or 3 years. Yeah, that sounds about right. Cardona was more like 5.
Cardona was released during the pandemic, 2020, and Ziggler was released, I think, the end of 2023 because he showed up in TNA in 2024. That's just off the top of my head. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct.
Ziggler would have been around the time that TKO took over.
Because Ziggler was September 2023, so yeah, I was right. And then he showed up in TNA at the first pay-per-view of the year because he showed up at Wrestle Kingdom 2024 as well.
That's right.
Because that would have been about the 90 day. His 90 day would have been up in December if he got released in September. So yeah, he showed up to Wrestle Kingdom 2024 and then showed up to TNA shortly after that. So yeah, Cardona was during the pandemic, whenever they were doing the pandemic releases, but he was definitely 2020 release.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I forgot that Ziggler had done the New Japan thing as well.
Most people do.
Yeah, I mean it was short, but that's just cool that he I did forget about that. So he has crammed quite a bit in the last couple of years, just in a different way that Cardona has. And Cardona, once again, I'm not really trying to make the comparison between these two guys, just to kind of put it into perspective. But it was cool, and obviously, I'm sure it was awesome for Ziggler to be able to do that in MSG. And then you have Cardona being able to do that on SmackDown, where his wife Chelsea Green is one of like the main, she's become like a sensation in her own right. I mean, she's one of the top stars in the company. Chelsea Green is the best example I've like ever seen of just like knowing how to get over and stay over. And like, if she never even wrestled, like if she never even had matches, she'd be over for life because of like how she can connect with people and how she can just make a fool of herself. And so like, it's pretty remarkable, honestly, especially because she had all those injuries and all those stops and starts in her career. She could have easily just been like, screw this, I don't even want to do this anymore. And look where she's at. So pretty cool for both of them, to be able to, have that moment for Zack Ryder. And also it was just cool seeing Zack Ryder. Like Dolph Ziggler, that was cool. But like Zack Ryder was like, it's been a long time since we've seen that. And Cardona has said many times since leaving the WWE, Zack Ryder's dead. If I came back, it's the complete Matt Cardona. He was making it sound like no chance you'd ever see Zack Ryder ever again. But now that it's happened, he was like, y'all really think I was going to take a call from the WWE? They tell me they want me to be Zack Ryder and I wasn't going to do it. Like, of course I'm going to go back and be Zack Ryder if they want me to be Zack Ryder. So I just thought it was really cool. So, and then people need to understand, like, listen, I know WWE would have eventually like really embraced the YouTube thing, the social media thing. I remember they were trying to do like the touts and all that stuff. Like they've always been trying to be involved on the cutting edge, and they use their website pretty effectively when other people weren't back in the day and stuff like that. But Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, is like the reason he had millions of social media followers as a jobber in the WWE because of being so forward thinking with how he marketed himself on YouTube with the Z True Hollywood Story and all that stuff. Like WWE would not have invested at the time, as much in their YouTube as they did. I promise you, if they hadn't have seen the success Zack Ryder was having. And the craziest thing about it was the success he had doing that pretty much got him in the doghouse with the company. So it's all so strange how that all happened, but in this really weird way, it worked out for Matt Cardona in the long run because he doesn't need the WWE to be successful. Like he can come back and it'd be cool for him, but like he doesn't need it at all. Like he's got it. He's a made man forever outside the WWE doing what he's doing. So very happy for both of those guys, especially Matt Cardona.
It was cool to see them. I wish that one of them had won, honestly. I think that they've kind of been, I think the winners of the tournament have been kind of lame, and there hasn't been too much unpredictability in anything. It's just, all right, these guys have won. I haven't been too excited about really any of the winners, even the matchups with, I haven't been too excited about the winners or even a lot of the matchups when it comes to this tournament. And really only Gunther and Javon Evans has been sort of the top match on there, the real match that has stood out. Yeah, I would have liked to see, I understand not beating LA Knight, and if you didn't want to beat Solo Sikoa, they could have faced anybody who would have lost in this tournament. Pick anyone who lost in the first round already, and why not have Ryder beat them or Ziggler beat them and just do something different, do something surprising. Like, it was cool to see them. That was a surprise to see them, but it would have been cooler if we had gotten an upset victory there.
And they probably could have, and I may have just missed it. I don't know if this was a talking point online. I honestly hadn't looked throughout any of it, but like, I didn't see or hear much like promotion of TNA during this. And like, I know the WWE is not going to like bow down to TNA wrestling on their broadcast, but like, I feel like, that's kind of the trade-off, right? If you're TNA, like, it's like, we're going to let you have this guy on your national television show in front of millions of people in the spot that you want him in. like, can you please just mention TNA a few more times? Like, just like, so people
Yeah.
hopefully tune into our show. Like,
Yeah, they should have, and they didn't,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
very funny considering you have a partnership. But there you go.
And the reason I also bring that up is because like you could have had like Javon Evans versus Matt Cardona, for instance, or we call him Zack Ryder or whatever, and that has ties to like the TNA NXT rivalry, which you could have also promoted at the same. You know what I mean? You could have like killed a lot of birds with one stone if you did a matchup like that instead of having Ryder come in and lose to LA Knight or having Ziggler come in and lose to Solo Sikoa. So.
Yeah. Speaking of TNA, Mike Santana lost the TNA championship. Frankie Kazarian called his shots, won it. Santana won the title, had it for a month where they were off television, and then lost the title. And then they tried to do a fake angle where he was not going to show up and he was missing, and then he showed up to Turning Point, and that whole nonsense. What'd you make of TNA's fantastic 2-day venture last week, Jensen?
I mean, like we were talking about how big of a miss it was last week that they took that whole month off, especially coming off of Bound for Glory, which is supposed to be like their WrestleMania. And this just is it's such a bad idea because they also put out like that fake like release basically about like Santana like no showing and stuff, like not just like really bad ideas. Like these are all really bad ideas. I like if in their mind, like there's so many layers to this because I'm going to preface this also by saying I have no issue with Frankie Kazarian, the human being. I was actually a really big fan of his, like back in the early 2000s. I was really bummed out he wouldn't cut his hair, like because I wanted him to stay in the WWE. I was watching him on Velocity back then, and of course also in TNA. I remember him as part of Serotonin. You know what I mean? Like we go way back with some Frankie Kazarian hitting flux capacitors and stuff. If I had to put a scale of like 1 to 10 of how excited I am for Frankie Kazarian to be the TNA World Champion in 2025, it would be in the negatives. Like I am like less like I can't express how little I care about him being the champion of TNA in 2025. Like this is such a like it's a doofus decision having Santana lose the title right away after the build, and like doing it way too late to begin with. Like you could have done it in New York. Everyone talks about that. They decided to wait until this last pay-per-view. They finally pay it off. He wins, and I was scared because during the show, even during the post show, when me and Joel were breaking it down on the Fightful main channel right after, if you want to watch this yourself, you can check out the review. I was like, that I was worried because the Call Your Shot gauntlet match, it was dual winners. It was Frankie Kazarian and Nic Nemeth. And at the end of that show, they both teased cashing in. And Frankie Kazarian had the Call Your Shot gauntlet a year ago and unsuccessfully challenged for the championship. And at the time I was like, good. They were smart. Like they realized Kazarian just not, they didn't do it. And I thought that was smart. I don't know why they gave it to him in the first place, but they were smart. They didn't pull the trigger. They have now pulled the trigger. So it's at the expense of Mike Santana in that build and him finally becoming the champion. You take an entire month off of television, finally have a show where it's like basically the big unveiling and the start of the Santana era that people have been waiting for so long in TNA. You have him immediately lose the title to a guy who, like, I can't think of a more boring choice to be the TNA champion on the entire roster. I can't think of one person. Like, this dude, like, I don't like, this is going to sound like just a roast fest on Kazarian. I don't even want that to happen, but like, how old is Kazarian right now? He's got to be close to 50.
Frankie Kazarian is 48.
There you go. Like, this guy is almost 50 years old, has never been like particularly entertaining. Like, he's had good runs. Like, SCU they had some memorable stuff. He, once again, 20 years ago when he was doing X Division stuff and all that, like, but we're talking 20 years ago. This makes no sense. I don't know why they did this. I can't imagine one human being found out Frank Kazarian won the TNA championship over Mike Santana and then decided to start watching TNA that wasn't watching before. Just really bad choice. Really bad choice. And he's probably a great person. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I feel bad I'm even saying this about him, but like, it's more so about the company. You know, if you were going to do this, like, because I can only imagine that their line of thinking is, okay, well, now we'll have Santana chase again. And then like we'll get an even bigger pop, like when he wins the title again. It's like, if that's the plan, the company's even dumber than I think right now, because there's no way it's going to be a bigger deal than it already was. And you're just playing with fire. You're playing with fire with a guy who's already probably has interest from other companies. I have no idea how long he's locked into TNA.
I think it's up at the end of this year.
Well, if that's the case, that might play into it. Like, TNA might think they're losing him, so it's just like, we gave him his moment. But like, even if that's the case, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. Let's say that TNA has a notice from, this is completely hypothetical, reckless speculation. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, Mike Santana has already told TNA management, I'm not going to be resigning at the end of the year. You know, I do have other options. Thank you very much, for what you've done for me. And it's totally cordial. And he's made it clear he is not going to be resigning past this year. Why would you choose Kazarian? Of everyone on your roster, you have young talent. You have people like, why? Like, how would you think that this? And then the other person that won that gauntlet match is Nemeth, and it's like, Nemeth already he was already the champion. He doesn't need this thing to become the champion, and he's mainly been a tag team guy in recent memory anyway with his brother. None of it makes sense. And it's stuff like this where, like, if you're, I don't want to say Ace Austin, but like, as an example, if you're someone like Ace Austin or someone who's young and has a lot of potential, maybe like a Leon Slater or something like that. I know Ace Austin's already gone, but I would look at this kind of stuff, honestly. And I would be like, if I get to the level of like breaking through, are they just going to do that to me where they're going to make me wait a whole year to pay something off and then have some guy twice my age who's never really been over put the whole thing on him? Like, what? It's all of it is weird to me. None of it makes any sense, including not doing a show for a month. Like, so it's, I honestly have not seen Joel's reaction to it outside of whatever he tweeted. I can only imagine his head probably exploded. Like, if I was
laughed.
Well, but the thing is, like, he has to be, so like, I have to be invested enough to know what's going on once every 3 months, right? He has to be invested every week in this. Like, I can only imagine how he feels, like how much time he feels like he's wasted as a viewer. And there's no way you're bringing in new fans with Kazarian as your champion. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So that's how I feel about it. TNA with like 5 swings and misses since the last time we talked about TNA last week. Yeah, that's that, I guess. Big mistakes.
Yeah, TNA's gonna be TNA. Yeah, I know you mentioned you also wanted to talk about the Tony Khan and Ariel Helwani interview.
Oh yeah, and well, I know you're not feeling great, so I won't keep you too long. I'm a big Ariel Helwani guy. I'm a big Tony Khan guy. I like both of them a lot. I talked about it on this show before. I was lucky enough to interview Ariel Helwani years back. I've met him in person. I used to actually do a lot of transcribing for MMA on Point during his shows, and Helwani would actually take my transcriptions, use it for his stuff. And I have a little bit of a very small history with Ariel Helwani, and he's always been incredibly friendly to me. I actually set him up for an interview years back with my friend Daniel Salerson, who was a broadcaster for the Pelicans back when Helwani was dabbling in like NBA courtside interviewing. I linked him up with my friend Daniel, and they did an interview together years back for the NBA and stuff like that. So I've always been a real big fan of Ariel, really big fan of his as a human being. Both of us being Jewish, I'm always out there looking for Jewish role models because there's not a whole lot of them out there. There's not a whole lot of Jewish people just like in general, like that I have like seen in like, in a lot of the sports that I watch or like a lot of the stuff that is covered that I'm a fan of. So Ariel Helwani has just always been one of those guys that I've really always looked up to, and he's been very, very nice to me in the few interactions I've had. And Tony Khan, I don't have nearly that kind of history. I have no history with Tony Khan whatsoever outside of just knowing he's a longtime wrestling fan. And he does seem like I think Tony Khan's a really nice guy who really means well, he's like the antithesis of like what a Vince McMahon is. Like, I think for someone like CM Punk or maybe a lot of these guys who have worked in both companies, maybe Tony Khan does seem like a pushover, or maybe Tony Khan does seem too nice or this or that. And he probably is compared to Vince McMahon, especially. But I think there's also a lot of people that really like dealing with someone like Tony Khan because he is nice and he does care and stuff like that. And it always bothered me that Helwani and Tony Khan got off on the wrong foot because the two of them are so similar. And Helwani himself says in their interview, he's like in an alternate timeline, like the two of us are best friends. Like we're around the same age. We have similar interests, and it's very true. So I thought it was really cool how they buried the hatchet. And listen, there are certain questions that, like, here's the thing. Helwani, one of the reasons I respect Helwani so much is because he has the respect of all these people that he interviews to the point where he can ask the difficult questions. And you might not always get the answer you want, but like people are almost always willing to answer the question. That was the big problem with the original Tony Khan interview with him. Was Helwani was asking questions and Tony Khan just wasn't really answering anything. So Helwani got really frustrated over it because he's not used to that happening to him. And Tony Khan probably felt like he was kind of bombarded because he's not used to actually being asked directly about these kind of topics. And they were able to get on the same page for this most recent interview. And sure, there were some questions that Ariel asked that Tony, he basically gave the exact answer of like our bumper for when we do our AEW spotlights. I mean, it sounds verbatim about it. It's a great show. It's been a run of great shows. It's, we got this great pay-per-view coming up. We got Dynamite coming up. We got Collision coming up. We got these great champions. But like, what do you really expect him to do when he's asked about like the CM Punk confrontation? Like he gave more of an answer than I kind of even expected him to with some of the stuff, if I'm being honest, which I respect. The one thing Ariel didn't ask that I think he should have, and it's possible he was told beforehand not to, the one question, since he was already asking everything else, he should have asked, why did Cody Rhodes leave AEW? And put it on Tony to just, maybe he just says, me and Cody both agreed to never talk about that. And that's totally fine. But like, why ask about Punk and this and that and like these tough questions and like ask about that picture of all of them together with championships and stuff and not ask the question that's right there in front of you that no one has the answer to. Why did Cody Rhodes leave AEW? I think Ariel dropped the ball by not asking that. But once again, it's very possible we just told straight up just not ask about that. I don't know. So that said, I enjoyed the interview a lot. I like both guys a lot. I hope we get more of that in the future. And the better, and part of the reason Tony was open to it sounded like, was because Ariel had done such great interviews recently with guys like Darby Allin. Who else did he have recently? He had another AEW Ricochet, that's right. And Tony, like I can tell he was, and I can just tell this about him. He's I actually like him for this. I was watching the show and I could tell so many times that Tony was like, he was looking around the room a lot during the interview, and he would almost get get lost in the conversation at random points because I could tell he was looking at all the memorabilia in Ariel's place, and he started to mention it, and he's like, I'm looking around, I remember that match, I remember this and that, and I know in his mind he's thinking, this dude doesn't have one damn piece of AEW merchandise in this entire studio. And eventually he brings that up. And I was waiting for him to say something about it. Eventually, towards the end of the interview, Ariel's like, I'm going to have to send you like a care package of some stuff to get in here. Like, you don't have any AEW in here. And I was like, so I just, I think that's smart too. If I was Tony Khan, I'd send one of those packages that they sent to like John Gruden, like a big box to Ariel with like a world title belt, the trinkets and figures that he can put on his desk or on his set or whatever. Send him an AEW care package and just hope that he puts any of it on his set, because a lot of people see that stuff. He has a very popular show and a very popular network over there on YouTube now, on his Ariel Helwani channel. So Ariel Helwani show. So yeah, that's how I felt about it. Like, I think that there's always going to be people that, like, no matter what Tony Khan says, they're going to hate on him and call him a nerd and this and that. But I think he represented AEW pretty well. And I think that he answered the questions he was able to answer. I think he did a pretty good job. I understand that some people are going to be like, well, he just kept talking about how good the shows are and blah, blah, blah. I didn't really listen. This was night and day, way better than the original interview that the two of them had. And this sets a foundation to where hopefully Tony returns to the show and continues to help feed AEW talent into Ariel's show, because I think it's a great show for combat sports fans and people who might not watch AEW, similar to the Hangman interview I talked about earlier. Get more people on Ariel's show getting interviews with him. I think it will help grow the AEW audience a bit. There's a lot of wrestling fans that watch his show that don't watch AEW, that I think you can make some new fans. So yeah, I think this was good stuff for AEW. Once again, I'm happy to see both guys on the same page, and yeah, this was way better than the first time. Way better.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good interview, and Tony definitely felt more comfortable. He, like, the Punk stuff was the most kind of, not eye-opening, but it's like, oh, he actually talked about that. And I thought Ariel did a good job asking the questions in a way that wasn't very combative with stuff, because he asked basically, hey, CM Punk said this. What is your response to this? And then asking about the photo of Ricky and Jade and Punk and Cody. I thought that was a good question. And he was asking about, certain people. Some of it is like, all right, I've heard this answer before. You listen to enough Tony Khan, you've heard all of these answers before. But some of it was, very good and very relevant and stuff that you haven't heard Tony talk about overall.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like you said, he specifically asked about like Andrade and Miro and like people who left the company. And CM Punk, obviously, I was just so surprised with how because obviously as a Cody fan, I still want to know why he left AEW. Like that's the biggest mystery in the world to me in the history of wrestling.
I truly think that's just a question that's not going to be answered until Cody decides to put out whatever he's going to put out. So I think for Ariel, it was just a thing of, Cody's kind of already said what he's going to say on it. Tony's kind of said what he's going to say on it, because Tony's not going to give the truthful answer here, right, whatever that might be. I think it would have just been like, we love Cody, and we had Cody is one of the founding members of AEW, and his usual spiel on this. I think that's all you were going to get out of it. So I think Ariel was kind of fine by not trying to press upon that.
That's fair, and I definitely wouldn't press if I was him. Similar to like when he was talking about Punk, he brought up the footage, but he wasn't like, did Punk really lunge at you? I mean, like, you can't, like, was it really that? Like, he wasn't like, when he put Jack in that headlock, was that really like a real, like, that was like guillotine really dangerous? You know what I mean? Like, he just kind of asked like broadly, but he didn't like push and dive more into it, which I respect. But I even want to know, like, this is just me personally, no one else might even care, but I would even want to know, like, have you talked to Cody since he won the WWE championship? Like, do you have any relationship with him anymore? Obviously not professionally. You don't have to be like saying anything about, obviously it's the WWE champion, he's the competition, but I wonder if they're still on good enough terms that like Tony ever congratulates him about anything, or vice versa. If Cody's ever reaching out and like keeping an eye on some of the people that he still has relationships that are in AEW, like, I'm just interested. That's just as a fan. I think it'd be cool to kind of know more about that stuff, but that's also the kind of stuff that you probably really wouldn't get answers on, to be honest. So,
yeah. All right, and now the indie spot.
I forgot we had
give
more.
A big motherfucking shout out.
Laynie Luck won the WWE ID Women's Championship at Wrestling Open Rhode Island. She was part of the six-woman match, the six-woman match to open the show to earn a spot in the six-woman elimination match. In the elimination match, she defeated Erica Demia, Brittany Brooks, Notorious Mimi, Shannon Levine, and Tiara James.
Yes, congratulations to Laynie Luck. We will not. I completely forgot we had more to talk about tonight, and I feel bad because I know you're not feeling well. I'm happy for Laynie.
I will say, I felt better as the show has gone on. I don't want lights in my face still, and so that's why I've continued to just not have the camera on, because I do feel if I put lights in my face, I will feel worse. But I do feel much better as the show has gone. I've been drinking a lot of Gatorade, and I think that's just helping with my hydration and everything. I am very scared if I had lights shining in my face that I would get nauseous and have a bad headache again. But being here in the dark, just kind of talking wrestling, I've honestly been fine.
Well, that's good. I think that Laynie is very talented. I especially have liked her work with Glory Pro Wrestling, especially when I was doing the Weekender. A lot of times I would cover Glory Pro's Ascend series, and she's been one of the mainstays on that since they've been doing that show. I think she's still the Crown of Glory Women's World Champion right now as well. I think all the women involved, were are very talented. I thought it was cool, and Helica Risk was involved, since she's been on the show and stuff, and her and Jack Jameson, have always been good to us. So it was cool to see her in that spot. But Laynie deserves it. The verdict's still out as far as you and me are concerned, as far as the ID program in general. But obviously this is something that she wants. I think that, she was a good choice. She's very, she could be in NXT right now and she wouldn't be out of place. You know what I mean? She's very talented, and she's got a good look. She's got good size and stuff. You know what I mean? She's going to be a TV wrestling star for sure. It's just a matter of it's really just a matter of time. So the fact that WWE already has eyes on her is very good for her. And, unfortunately, Smiley Kylie, didn't have the title for very long, and who knows when she'll be back, but, hopefully things go well with her pregnancy. But I think that Laynie is going to be a good representative for WWE ID. I think she'll have really good matches on the indie scene, and nothing against any of the other women, but honestly, when I saw the lineup, I thought Laynie Luck had the best chance. And I think, I don't like talking about relationships too much on the show, but I think she's with is it GPA? I think I know she's dating she's been with one of the guys who I've been watching for. It's either CPA or GPA. I've always mixed those two up. I think, but anyway, she's been around the indie scene for a while now, and I'm almost positive her partner is also an independent wrestler. So the reason I'm even saying that is because I'm sure it's very cool for both of them. I wish I could remember who it was at the top of my head, but anyways, good for Laynie Luck.
Yeah, I have no idea who she's with, so I cannot help you.
Give me a second. I'll look up.
It's fine. It's not the.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Congratulations to Laynie Luck. I know she's been big in the kind of Midwest scene. I've seen her on some Glory Pro shows as well. And I'm not super familiar with her. I kind of thought Brittany Brooks might win because I know she's done a lot with FSW, and she's been also kind of around the independent scene. So she was kind of my favorite to win that. But Laynie Luck's a good choice. I don't know what the WWE ID program is. I don't know what it amounts to. They have one woman besides her under contract now, so we shall see.
And just for what it's worth, GPA is definitely who I'm thinking of. Don't know if they're dating, but I do see that he's tweeted a lot the last few days about Laynie Luck. So maybe they just train together, but I don't know. I don't want to spread any rumors that might not be true or anything like that. Brittany Brooks, like her a lot too. She's only is she even 20 years old yet, Brittany? Like, she's gonna be a big star. She's still very early on, but talent there too. I think she's working a little pro wrestling Cincinnati also, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of pretty gross. She'd be an interesting interview because I'm pretty sure she started like very young. So she'd be kind of like a Billy Starks, kind of to talk to her. So
I feel like we could probably get her on at some point.
Probably, yeah. I'll reach. Let me see. Brittany Brittney Brooks.
No, N-I-E.
Brittnie.
Yeah, T-T-I-N-E, Brittany Brooks. Yeah.
That is, I'm totally spelling it wrong. Brittni.
N-I-E. Yeah. Spelling bee here on the spotlight.
Dude, I wish my.
We don't have to do this on here.
There we go. Yes. Okay, we follow each other on Twitter already. We're
okay.
Good. I'll reach out. Anyway, we'll try to talk to her sometime. Thank you, Jeremy, for your time. I know you weren't feeling great. Glad you're feeling a little bit better now. And yeah, if you guys want to follow me on social media, just follow me on X at @FightTalk_. Pretty much that's all that's going on with me. Skull Vikings. Hopefully JJ McCarthy plays better this Sunday than he has the last few weeks. Also, shout out to our friend Rob Wilkins, who's going through the loss of his father right now. I know that happened a couple weeks ago, but I know he's been taking time off. Haven't seen him, on screen in a minute, but I've been thinking about Rob. He's also a big Vikings fan, so I'm actually going to reach out to him and see how he's doing soon as well. But yeah, that's everything I've got.
Appreciate you as always, Jensen. We'll be back tomorrow. New episode of In the Weeds live, 10 a.m. Eastern. Myself and Joel Pearl. He's gonna make me talk about ROH. I don't think we'll be talking too much about that, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe Kimmy will pop up and force us to talk about ROH. He's gonna make me talk about TNA. We'll probably talk some MLW as well. They got a show going on right now. But until then, everybody, no one can see my sign off, but I'm doing my sign off, and we will talk to everybody later on.
So you do like